Well, welcome to the second part about tuning the tenor that's already been through a lot. Well, you're going to see everything in the shots now. As I told you, after I bought the tenor, I started writing it a bit harder than people usually do. I can't say that it's something ultra difficult, no, but it falls a lot. It's become much more frequent because you try some difficult roots or something, and of course you fall and drop. And the first thing I did was change this for, I replaced this handlebar guard because the original one was truly terrible. It was flexible and bent. It was only attached on 2 points on that side, here on the left side. Of course, I fall more on that side, and it had already worn through to the plastic there. This is Hoppeberker, I believe, if I pronounced it correctly. Sorry, I'm not a native speaker. I really like it. In fact, it protects the scooter really well. I've fallen 1,000 times. Well, not 1,000. 100 definitely fell, probably already 80. You can take a look at the footage from the other side. You'll see how scratched it is already. It hasn't moved a millimeter because there are 3 attachment points. It's really cool, very rigid, and probably a must-have. The first thing you need to install if you want to ride a bit more aggressively off-road, and it's expected that the motorcycle will fall. What I've installed, I'm not going to state in chronological order, rather in reverse chronological order, but not in order of importance, because the most important is obviously the exhaust. Secondly, what I've installed was a more monstrous protective cover from Moto ES, if I remember correctly. These guys are from Turkey. If I'm right, they're listed on eBay. They have their own website. It's quite cheap. Well, relatively to all other branded ones. But it's really very cool, meaning the actual protection here is pretty strong. I've already hit a lot of rocks and even jumped over logs. It's really okay. Plus, there's also a skid plate down here for progression, which is also super important, which most commonly doesn't exist on Carter protections because it's assumed that you won't be so hardcore. Well, just like the stock doesn't have this, but here it does. In addition, I fitted Barkbusters protection because the stock is naturally plastic. It's for hardcore things like falls. Even from the height of a moped won't last long. It doesn't break immediately. In fact, the stock protection of the back of the hands is rather good, surprisingly. I was really impressed. I even mentioned this in the review. Yes, very good, I like it, how Barkbusters work. They are not too expensive. Basically, they hold load. Well, I know that there are some analogs on AliExpress also cheaper than Barkbusters. I think they cost 150 euros. I don't see any drawbacks except one, because it sticks a little wider at the edges. The brake lever and gas lever, gearbox lever during some falls when it shifts slightly. Sometimes if it rests on this gear and doesn't bend, you have to insert the mount and bend it. Well, in principle, it's okay. I wouldn't say that this is any major problem, especially for the gearbox. I now have a new foot from Nice CNC. There's a lot of things from Nice CNC, by the way. If you want to hear more about it in detail, then somewhere here or there will be a hint. Plus, watch the previous video about the heating element. It will be specifically about Nice CNC and the protection of the engine covers from a service. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's super useful, but it does help with the scratches. But when a motorcycle costs 8,000, it already seems that a scratch isn't the worst thing that could possibly happen. Yes, well, a scratch really does help. I really like how the pump is hidden here. That's also a slightly crucial aspect, I would say, of a motorcycle. And, well, there are some benefits. Yeah, the fact that there are no scratches, also how the pump is covered, on the other hand, is the same. Here you can see the foot pegs. Again, you can see in the previous video. In short, it's awesome. The best thing that gives you the immediate feeling of riding the motorcycle, besides the tires, is the wide, large footrests. Absolutely love it. I really like it. And let's move on to the main. Interesting and juicy. So we have the Majesty itself, the myth, the movie, the MIV, all this. I don't know what it's exactly called, but in short, it's an exhaust, an Italian myth, the car. It comes with a slip-on along with this adapter pipe, a catalytic converter on the motorcycle in the front so you can put anything you want. It's road legal, it has certification, everything is as it should be. This one is sold as a separate item, a carbon reading for this piece of manifold, because the heel sometimes touches and melts. Pay attention to this if you're going to get one. You can either make it yourself, it's not difficult, or you can order it for 50 euros. Well, that's a bit expensive, to be honest. Okay, if the old rate is 2,500, but still I would say what you can make yourself from aluminum. There's nothing complicated, 2K mutts and some aluminum brushes. Here it is installed on the exhaust. Easy. It's a bolt-on fit, except for an issue I had where one lug on the mount wasn't cut out properly and I had to change the bolt. But overall, it's a bolt-on. Also, if you're installing this, you need to relocate the turn signals. Mine are relocated because the standard ones will melt, they don't fit. You'd need a different tail light, but you can just relocate the signals. It's actually quite useful to do so, as they easily break in their original position. I forgot to mention the folding mirrors. Right, basically, yes, you need to buy an adapter. At low speeds, you can see normally. At high speeds, it shakes a bit, but it doesn't bother me. What's important to me is that they can fold and not get damaged. That's the thing. I wanted to add suspension tuning, but a little bit later. I want to wait. I want to use up everything that this suspension has got, only to change it once I've really pushed it, because in fact I don't weigh much. Yes, right now I weigh about 71 or 72, and this suspension is basically enough for me if you don't jump on the flat. If you jump on the flat, then the rear gets punctured. Here, as you can see, I have a little cable. I can't remember who these guys are, but I think Nikitos from Project 18 was endorsing them. I bought it. It's a small cable. It's not for fat mopeds. It's already torn, but it didn't tear due to its own fault. In short, I was dragging a log behind it. Maybe you saw it in the video. I found a log here, by the way, next to it, and decided that, damn, I need a log to jump over because I need to practice. I experimented with this cable on it, dragged it, and it tore 3 times in different places because it rubbed on the ground. It wasn't the most logical thing to do, but still, as for the suspension, if I change it, I will most likely change it to Rally Raid. I really like it. I watched a lot of videos about how it works. For the money that you pay, you get a good exhaust in the rear and front. I'm thinking about going for a suspension that's 25 millimeters longer if I change it, that is, to increase the suspension travel by another 25 millimeters, but we'll see. As for the saddle, I told you in the review that I don't really like it. I still don't really like it, but so far I haven't done anything about it. I'm waiting for it to die, get scratched, die, then I'll change it. What else can I tell you? And so the issue with the Tenere, which I encountered, is the sensor on the footrest. Because of it, it's not possible to start it in gear. With the motorcycle, like when you start it up, you shift into gear and it stalls. I don't know if it happened because I was riding off-road so much, jumping, shaking, and just killing it, but at some point it started acting up. Like, you had to open and close the footrest, hit it a bunch of times so it would close. At some point, I don't know, it went on for about 20 or 30 minutes. I was standing there trying to do it, and finally I just hammered the bolt, cut it off. I twisted it and lifted it higher to prevent moisture from getting in. I properly wrapped it, taped it, and then burned it to make it tight. I strongly recommend you keep an eye on it. Remember, it's quite simple. You take this wire, which goes there, cut it, and twist it. This was the only issue that occurred during this entire time. Then there's me, not sure, but that's how it is for me. Write in the comments if someone else has had this happen. I've heard this quite a few times. Well, not reviews per se, but there is this common problem. It happened to me too. It has run for 8,600 kilometers. So far, I'm absolutely loving everything. Even the power it has is enough for me. Honestly, I don't see any significant downsides. I'd of course love it to be even lighter, even easier, although it already is considerably light. Theoretically, you could get it down even more, make it about 190, 180 or something, but I'm not thinking about that right now. Let's talk about the exhaust. I'll let you hear it. It really isn't very loud. It's about as loud as the stock one, but it has a bit of a 3-ring to it. The hum that existed at low to medium speed has disappeared. There, someone is driving something that sounds interesting, or it's a tractor. Let me start it up for you to listen. It's hot now. There's still a flute here. Yes, if need be, it can be removed. But I won't because I don't like loud exhausts. Let's not torture the bucket. In terms of sound, almost nothing has changed. It's become a little bit more velvety with a little bit more of those sounds. But in general, not much has changed. As I said, the main reason is this lever here that bends and erases the pendulum. You can see how much it's been erased on mine. I also changed the rear pads to 700. Otherwise, everything is fine, nothing extraordinary, everything cool, everything's alive. I hope you liked it. Write what mods you would make to your motorcycle, and yes, suggest something else to put on. Did you like it or not? Maybe you put it on and were disappointed. Holding the footrest with my hands and remembering again how awesome it is. By the way, on this footrest, there's a promo code SKA11 for all nice CNC products. You can go and pick something for yourself. This has nothing to do with me, it has nothing to do with money. They just sent me a review, which was in the previous video, and there was a promo code, so I'm just sharing it with you again. I don't know how long it will work because, well, you can check. Time, now it's the beginning of March 2023-24. I still live in the past. Well, Kagi was with you. Bye bye, happily.